If you're just going to say it's some kind of deism, all right, well then how do you get compassion, empathy, love, sacrifice, human rights? If there is no Christian worldview, you don't have any of that.
And they are the foundations of what we know as our nations. But Christians do not implement them.
Many of them did, just like the scientific revolution was all done by Christians.
In this debate, the atheist questioned whether belief in God is rational without scientific proof. Stuart responded by arguing that science explains how the universe works, but not why it exists, or why objective morality and human value exist. As the discussion continued, both challenged each other's assumptions, making this one of the most thought-provoking exchanges you'll hear. Watch the debate all the way to the end before making up your mind. Then come back and tell us in the comments, who made the stronger case, Stuart Knechtle or the atheist?
Society is based on some level of Christianity, but not through a God, like we created the legal foundational system based on the Christian God, but more of a abstract deity. And I would like...
Theism is involved, sure.
Yeah, I would say that's the main driver.
But there's a reason why all the major abolitionist movements were all done by just Christians. So no, I'm very thankful that we have Judeo-Christian roots here, and that's what started this nation. Otherwise, there'd be a lot of problems when it comes to all are created in God's image. And there's equality, and everybody is worthy of protection and preservation, no matter what you look like, no matter what your capabilities or level of consciousness. And so sure, yeah, we're not going to debate historically, yeah, theism, whether it's deism, sure. But at the very end of the day, no, the ethics we live by here, even atheists who say they're atheists, most of them are just walking around saying they're atheists, but they're really just acting as Christians.
But I would say, like, deist associated with Christianity. I believe a lot of principles of Christianity have been used throughout civilization.
All right, sorry, let me pause then. Let me pause and just ask you the question then. If you're just going to say it's some kind of deism, all right, well then how do you get compassion, empathy, love, sacrifice, human rights? If there is no Christian worldview, you don't have any of that.
And they are the foundations of what we know as our nations. But Christians do not implement them.
Many of them did, just like the scientific revolution was all done by Christians. The truth will set you free, John chapter 8. All over, every single ivy except one was started by Christians. Missionaries, like they were all set up as missionary schools for Christianity.
I would highly contest the idea of, like, if the scientific revolution was based on the Renaissance, then I would say Galileo Galilei, unfortunately, was burned by the Catholic Church that I, like, defend. Like, yes, there is this idea, and there's very clear foundational rhetorical arguments.
Yeah, but he said the Catholic Church was wrong in doing that. He himself as a Christian.
It was.
And so I wouldn't say that's a stain on Christianity.
But he was...
I'd say that's a stain on an institution at the time. Philosophers on both sides were debating. See, the history's wrong on that. People say, oh, it was all the Catholic Church? No, it wasn't.
No, it really wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're talking about how the
what Jesus taught
framework of Christianity helps found and establish.
Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, they all said you're saved through their teachings. Jesus said you're saved through me, come to me. No longer do you have to try to make Mass every Saturday, and if you forget it Saturday, then you're going to purgatory. No, there's no trying involved. It's just come to Jesus, lay your deadly doing down, say, I am a sinner, he saves me, because there's nothing morally that I can do to save myself, and then live out his teachings. But there should be no guilt and shame within you. See, when I have Catholics come to my church and say, oh, I have all this Catholic guilt, I say that's unfair to the Catholic Church, one, and two, you shouldn't have Catholic guilt because then you're totally misunderstanding Christ. Christ calls you to a higher level of living, certainly through his teachings, but no, it's all about grace and how he saves you. Because if I have guilt, shame, and I live by trying, then basically I'm saying, Jesus, you didn't have to go to that cross for me. Why would you go to that cross for me? Because I can do it on my own.
And I do respect your worldview that we are saved by grace, but I do believe grace includes works.
Yes.
And that's just thing
I do too, though. I don't live by cheap grace. I love Keira Knightley, but when Keira Knightley says, oh, it's so easy for you Christians, you just say, you're a Christian, I'm saved by grace, and then you go out and do whatever you want, and then you just come back and say, hey, God, forgive me. No, that's cheap grace. Yes, works follow, absolutely, but no, works don't save you. If you say that, then you're just turning Christianity into any other religion. See, if you just say it's my works, it's about what I do, yeah, I would feel really guilty too. Or if you're saying you're an agnostic like my friend down here, all studies show you're going to have much higher rates of clinical anxiety Because if you just live with I do not know, oh my gosh, I'm having an anxious paranoid attack right now just thinking about if I just live by I do not know, right? You got to bite down on some kind of truth that leads you, some type of worldview. So for you, just make sure if there's one thing you walk away with, and you may not agree with it, but I still think you need to fall upon God's grace. And you should never walk away saying, I need to try to be a better Catholic. No, it's through God's grace. God's changing me through the fruits of the Spirit, so the Holy Spirit ultimately changing me. Now I need to be committed, but it's never a matter of I'm going to hang on to the shame and guilt all life long, because then it's a matter of, well, just go be a Muslim then. Go be a Buddhist then. Because you're failing all the time and you never know if you're ultimately saved, so you should have salvation anxiety all the time.
We can say something is true, right? If
Good.
something is observable, then usually we say it's true. But there's no way I could just observe Jesus Christ, so how am I supposed to know that it is real or not? It's just a fictional novel.
If I say to you Mao Zedong was a fictional character, what are you going to say to me?
Well, there's many evidence.
Yeah, there sure is. Historical evidence. He wreaked havoc in your homeland. He destroyed people by the millions. Not a good character. All right. In the same way that I know Mao Zedong lived, Jesus Christ lived, taught, died, and rose from the dead. Historical eyewitness testimony.
Well, I think if it's just a book, it is not a very strong evidence.
I find it ironic that you're here at the university then. If you really believe it's just a book, why on earth are you studying so much literature and paying so much money to get a degree here?
So what's the difference between Bible and a fictional novel?
You better understand the difference between scientific literature, historical literature, mathematical literature, poetry, apocalyptic literature. You're right, sir. There are different types of literary genre. And if you can't tell the difference, you'll flunk out of here.
Turn water into wine, and that is scientifically impossible. Unless you can redo that in front of me, then I could believe it. So I just don't understand how so many people just believe whatever a book said. It's just kind of I'm not disrespecting any Christian, but I just don't. Could you just?
I hear you.
I want to be a Christian. I tried to convince
Good.
myself.
Good.
But I still couldn't convince myself because I couldn't see with my eyes. There's no way I can observe that. So could you just try to convince me in a very simple way that Christianity and all that stuff is real?
You bet. People saw him die on a cross. A Roman soldier took a spear and jammed it into his side. Watery serum separate from clotted blood flowed from his side. Medical sign of death. They take his body off the cross. They put it in a very well-known tomb, the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea. All of his disciples disperse in disillusionment. They were not true believers. They were Christ deniers, Christ betrayers, Christ deserters. They were not expecting a resurrection. But 3 days after he died, some grief-torn women saw him risen from the dead. And over a period of 40 days, Paul writes, 25 years after the fact, that over 500 people, most of whom are still living, saw him risen from the dead. What's funny about that?
It's just you said somebody else saw it, but it's just, I could wrote a book and say something similar, and what's the difference?
The difference is Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, James and Peter were alive 2,000 years ago. They saw Christ, they heard him, they handled him, they ate meals with him, and after he rose from the dead, they ate meals with him. They saw him. That's their testimony. Then they went in and out and died. Not for a belief. They died for what they claimed to have seen. The dead Christ risen from the dead. A next question for you, sir, is why did Jesus laugh?
I don't see, so there's no logic. You just say a bunch of stuff that does not necessarily make Christianity true.
What do you want me to do for you? I've given you the evidence that it's historically reliable. I can't do your homework for you, sir. You're a big guy, you're a smart guy. Now you got to go out and read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John for yourself, and you got to figure out, is Cliffe lying or is Cliffe speaking the truth?
But unless you can scientifically prove something, you don't know it is true for sure.
Good. That's a philosophy. That the only truth that exists is that which you can scientifically prove. And my point is, you live that out, and you will live a very lonely, hollow, empty, trivial life. Human rights has nothing to do with science. Love, nothing to do with science. Meaning and purpose in life, nothing to do with science. And I'm pleading with you, be like Troy Van Voorhis, who teaches at MIT. He's a brilliant chemist. And he says, if you ask me the question, why is my shirt blue? I've got two ways I can answer you. I can give you the scientific answer. Extract the dye, and you'll figure out why it's blue. But I can also tell you, my shirt is blue because my wife likes me in blue. That's why I put this blue shirt on this morning. One is a scientific question, the other is a relational answer to the question. Science and relationships are different forms of knowledge. Both can be equally true, but they are radically different. You don't scientifically prove a person and enter a scientific relationship with them. It's impossible.
I feel like you're base your argument on emotion and not...
Oh, sir, that's so dishonest. Never once did I say, believe in Jesus because it emotionally feels good. I said the opposite. Believe in Jesus because the historical evidence of his lifestyle, his teachings, his death, and his resurrection, which have zero to do with emotions, point to his credibility.
Like I said, you just say like his resurrection, whatever.
Yeah.
And how do you know the resurrection actually happened?
Thank you. How do you know? First of all, because you allow for a supernatural God. So the first question is, does the evidence point to some type of supernatural God? Then you look historically at, did he really die? Was he really buried? Did he really rise from the dead, or did he not? So you got to do that. I've already done it for you, but you have not accepted it, so you got to go and do it yourself, okay? Don't take it from me. Read the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John for yourself. Philosophically, ask yourself, does the evidence point to non-existence producing existence? Before the Big Bang, nothing existed.
Okay, so...
No, existence comes from a creator. It doesn't come from non-existence.
If you're a student majoring or a scholar majoring in history, the mainstream idea for like a historian is that there might be somebody named Jesus Christ, kind of, he has some activities around that area, around that time. But if you say he resurrected from the dead, there's no scientific evidence for that. And
sir, whenever you mention science and history in the same sentence, you better be willing to acknowledge those are two different forms of knowledge. Scientific knowledge is based on repeatability of an experiment. If you can do something in an experiment in Bloomington, Indiana, but you can't do it in Shanghai, it is not science. Scientific knowledge is based on repeatability. It's a study of process. How does the grass live and grow? How does the tree live and grow? How does the human body live and grow? That is a study of process. It's based on repeatability of an experiment. Second point, history has nothing to do with repeatability. You don't get Washington back in your lab at IU every September and have him inaugurated first president.